Can you see my screen, Rolf?
Yeah, I can see the screen. Nice and clear. Go for it.
Perfect. Well, you know about this model, don't you?
It
Wolfgang?
looks familiar, Michael. I've seen it before. Yes.
It's a super smart model, actually. We didn't actually make it. This was given to us by Dental Labar in Dubai. And they wanted to see whether we can whether we can make veneers out of this case. And this is exactly what we're going to be doing today. So if there's any questions, just send Wolfgang a message or and then he'll relay that question to me,
Michael,
or we can discuss it afterwards.
Can you just tell us which modules you'll be using in this tutorial?
Well, I've got the model designer, I've got the crown module, the wax up module, and I'm going to be using the component module. So all of those modules. Okay, so let's get started. I mean, this is like quite a nice preps and everything. Each and every tooth is separate. And let's get started on making this veneer. So in the crown module, the first thing that we always do is we need to separate our models and our antagonist. In this case, I don't have an antagonist, so we're not going to be using an antagonist. So this is the working model that gets put into the working model collection. And then what I want to do is I want to get some teeth, and I find that I'm going to be using the teeth from Wolfgang, the denture teeth that we have,
ruthenium. Yeah, some of them are really nice.
The ruthenium. Now, all right, okay, let's choose a set of teeth. I'm going to go to the component module. We've got an update on this component module because the search button used to get stuck. So we've left that one out for a while. It didn't get stuck on the Mac version, so funny enough. So acryl smart ruthenium. We've got a lot of teeth now from ruthenium. And I'll be choosing maybe the TS14, okay? So let's bring those into the scene. Now, once they're in the scene, we usually go into the wax up module and put them in the collection, and that's so we can quickly select things. So I'll put that into this collection, and we're going to be picking all of these teeth. If you only have using one tooth, you're going to pick one tooth. In this case, we're going to pick all of the teeth. And from the top, I will just put them in, and they sort of fit perfectly in there, perfectly. So there's not much I have to do at all. But these teeth then go into the collection, so we can toggle them very quickly. So here, and of course, they're going to get remeshed while we're doing that. So here, there, and there. Okay. The next thing after that, we're going to be starting to mark our margins, but we're also going to mark our contact area, which is very important. So in the crown module, we're going to go drawing, and then we're going to be drawing this. Notice that everything else is hidden away, and we can sort of just deal with one thing at a time. Okay, and we're going to create a surface. Essentially, it cuts out the surface out of the model from a duplicate model. So here, select this, shift right click to place my cursor, click on drawing, and then we're going to mark out the margin. So this is, we do this for all of our teeth, okay? So here, okay, I've gone a little bit astray. I'll just put this a little bit better up top here. Okay, down we go. Like that, and then we're going to join it at the bottom. and we're going to create our surface. So we're going to do that for all of the teeth, but I'm not going to bore you guys in doing all of this because you've watched 2 of them. So we do it for all of these teeth and the contact here. So I'm going to call up the next file. So open, and that's the surfaces which have all been cut, and they've called surface, each one of them surface. If you're doing the lower teeth, they would be green in color. Okay, the next thing is we're going to survey. Now we can't survey them all in one go because they are veneers. So Wolfgang, I mean, how would you survey the premolars? Well, how would you think? I mean, they're different from the veneers.
Yeah, I'd probably take them together, maybe.
Yes.
Yeah, and then the veneers, I probably split the veneer case up as well. So 2s and 2s and 2s, maybe.
So the contacts we would survey from the top down. Okay.
That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So as we're moving this, we can move it, and I'm specifically looking at the surface over here, and we're going to block that out. And then what we have to do is with the veneers, we have to do each one separate because each one has a different path of insertion. I'll do it with one, and then we're going to call up the next file. So let's do it with this one. Survey. Everything else is hidden away. Please do not make a model like this. Okay, please do not block it out like this. And also please do not block it out, in any different way. You've got to be able to see the margin. So if we go into transparent mode, here toggle transparent, we can see the undercut over here. There's an undercut here, which is going to get blocked out. If we survey like this, this is going to be cut out of our veneer. We may be missing an entire margin. Okay, so the survey is, we're going to survey that to minimize undercuts. Very, very important, like something like this. So I can see the periphery, the margin around it, and this is how we're going to block it out then, okay? So it's very important to do this correctly, extremely important. Okay, so we're going to block this out, okay? And then what we do, then we do this with each and every one. But again, I'm not going to bore you guys because I've done this before our meeting. So file open.
Hey, Michael, you're very organized, eh?
I want to make my life easier, but then again, it's taken me a long time to organize today. All right, so, and please, if I can ask if you've got the crown and breech module, it's a bit of a living document. We've got a lot of users using it, and sometimes there's problems that come up, and we don't have updates every 6 months. Here's a new package update. We've got an update log, which you can see in the model designer. If you click on here, videos, it'll tell you exactly what we do every single day. So if it says click update for the crown module, it only takes a few seconds. If you've got fast internet, sometimes like 4 or 5 seconds, click update and you've got the newest codes.
These are just background coding. Menu
Yeah.
button changes are very seldom that we do those. In that case, you need a new menu, yeah, so just for script updates.
Yeah. All right. The next step, what we want to do is we want to select our contacts, and we do that because we want to exclude them from all of these veneers. So, okay, so we're going to, if you press the wrong button by mistake, it will tell you it's an error code. So I'm going to click on this one, contacts, and then we're going to put on a little bit of a support margin. And that's very important, you know, because we want to prevent chipping. At the moment, when we're zooming in, there's no support margin, and that can you know, be a bit dangerous. So we want to put a support margin there. So you've got a selection 50 microns, 100 or 200 microns. So for these veneers, I'll just put 100 microns, and I'm selecting all of these in one go. You can do them separately if you want to, but there's no point. So we'll do them all in one go. And when you look closely now, we've got like a parallel line going like that in white. If you're doing an inlay, porcelain inlay, you've got to click on this button because these margins extrude outwards, but an inlay has to extrude inwards so that it doesn't cut inside of a model. So then what we're going to do is we're going to put safety zone and die spacer. Now I'm going to do one. You can do them all in one go, but just to explain how this actually works. So we're going to go to the here spacer and zone, and so I'll select the front tooth and I'll click on add spacer, and that puts like a die spacer in red. It's like painting with die spacer on it. It's 50 microns. You can change that by changing this. So it says ×2. So think of it like a diameter of a circle and the radius of a circle. So at the moment it's set to 50 microns. The other day we had someone wanting 200 microns. So that's actually quite thick anyway. And the module didn't work, so we had to update the codes. This is why it's very important just to click update so that you've always, you know, up to date with everything. Then what we're going to do is we're going to accept that. So the marginal distance, what is that? It's the distance between the die space and the margin. So if you put in 0.5, it creeps towards the margin, okay? And we can also invert, but I don't need to show you that. That's for like an inlay. We're going to accept that. Then what we're going to do is we're going to build a safety zone around it. And this is, Wolfgang, can you just explain this zone? What happens
so
with this
it's
zone?
translucent green. It's a hypothetical zone, so it's only indicative. So when we have a tooth library that we paste onto this veneer prep, that green, if that shows through the actual tooth library, hey, we know it's too thin. Currently it's set to, is it 0.6 millimeters, Michael?
It's 50 micron.
So of course the
5.
goal is to take the mesh of the tooth library so you don't see any green, because then you know that your veneer is thick enough. If you see the green, then you know you're risking a too thin veneer prep. So that's all, it's just indicative.
So of course you can select all of them in one go and hit this button, and that will just go, it will just take this one and this one and this one and this one and do it all in one go. And then you know you've got like, you know, you've got the default values. You've got here my preferences. If you've got a different default value in mind and you want to pick a die space or whatever, let us know and it will prepare a file for you. You put it in the model designer. There's a my preference file. You throw that one in there, and when you click on this one, it will call up your preferences. Okay, so we're going to go to the next one. So this has all been, no, this is not the next one. Space and zone. Okay, so here all of them have been blocked out, and this is sort of the midway, because from here you could make copings or like a thin shell instead of making crowns. Okay, so that's sort of something to think about. We're going to call up the restorations now, and this is where we can generate these veneers. So here we're going to go to the generate here, not occlusal adjustments, because we don't have an opposing model at this stage. So I'm going to take one, so the lateral here, edit the mesh, and you can see where this mesh is. Generally speaking, we want to sort of move this mesh using the G key, just moving it because we want to have a nice emergence profile if we can. And of course, you can see where the green zone is. So that's quite easy to do. You're just using the G key and it sort of snaps it onto the surface. So I know that it's like 0.5 or 0.6 millimeters thick. It's not difficult to do. And then what we're going to do is we're going to click on generate the crown. And we'll just wait for that to generate the veneer. Okay, and then that should then be finished for this veneer, which it is. We can have a look there. It's exactly on the margin line, the blue line over here.
Can you go into edit mode, Michael?
Yeah, so what I'll do is I'll go Control I and hide it. Now, these denture teeth are quite textured, if you see, but this is the mold. This is the mold that you can actually purchase from the factory. And once it's polished and everything, it doesn't actually
Yeah, so
look
it
as
comes directly
textured.
from the denture card as such. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah, that's correct. And you can smooth it down if you want. So the mesh of the veneer looks like we've got a beautiful margin, which is 0.1, which we've chosen, the support margin, and you can have a good look at the mesh quality. Is probably compares to, the big players, I would think. Spent a lot of time. On the inside, you can see that cut here, which is the dye spacer. So the deeper, the thicker the dye spacer is taken, the more you would actually see more of a cut.
And the
that.
blocked out areas have also been cut out. So multiple procedures in one go.
Correct. We're going to go to where I've generated each and every one of these veneers. And, I do recommend doing them one after the other. I've posted a video the other day where I've taken a full mouth rehab and I've taken each an alternative tooth, which also works, but be cautious of it because the teeth can't be close together. Okay, so yeah. Now, the next thing what we want to do is we want to create our contacts. Now, this is a little bit time consuming and difficult because we know with veneers, especially when you're handling, if you're making them the analog way, it's, contacts takes a very, very long time to get, with carbon paper and all of that. Very, very tricky in the lab to make contacts. So in the 3D digital world, it's a little bit different, but let's talk about this. So I'm going to take these contacts and we're going to make an auto contact cutter. We can click on that. That takes the default values. What it essentially does, it takes our blocked out model, which we've done right in the beginning. It expands it by 50 microns. So if your contacts are always tight, you would then engage in this menu so that you can actually expand it a little bit more. Or if you've got a diastomer like in front, if you want to put a diastomer.
So this differs from some other software programs where the adjacent tooth, the contact is just simply cut out, which leaves a concavity. In Blenderfordental, we use a blocked out version of the contact. So you can see it draws a straight line according to the survey earlier on. And we know that this is the best way of adjusting contacts. If you have a concavity, that would lead to the final adjustment in the mouth. So we want to steer clear. We don't want to adjust anything in the mouth. And this is why we've got this special feature.
Yeah, that's correct. But now the contacts here, for example, are very tricky because you can see we've got a bit of a safety zone and we've got a bit of overlapping over here. Now, there will be a little bit of manual work to do in the dental lab because you can imagine if we cut this all away, we're going to leave an open margin. So we don't want that. So how are we going to do this? The best way to do that is we're going to use the interproximal cutter. This is a square which is 10 micron in thickness. So think of it as a blade. It's very, very thin. And we're going to take it up here and we're going to use the G key and the R key like this. And we're going to put it into position. And then we're going to use a Shift D. Shift D is a shortcut to duplicate, and then R. And we're going to put these cutters in between of these veneers. So like that. And we're going to take that again, Shift D, and we're going to use R key like that. And one more time, like that. Okay, and then what I want to do is I want to look at this from the front view. So tilde key, look at it from the front view. And you can see here, so if you know, when you're doing veneers or crowns, you don't want the contact to run, you know, at a slant, at a cant. You want it, so if you've got a lower model, you can select this little thin little disc, and you can change it. So we've got these buttons here where you can shift it to the left or to the right. Every time you click it, like does it like very, very little. You can change the angle of it like this, you know. So there's quite a lot we can do, and we can also swing it around the Z-axis like this, the Z-axis. So essentially what I'm doing is I'm trying to create this cut.
Can you
And
look
then
at
I'm
it
going to
from the
look,
back, Michael? Yeah,
yeah, I'm going to look at this from the side now. We can see how this we can't do the contact like this, because if I hide this tooth, we can see over here. So it is a tricky thing, and I think probably in every dental digital software that is quite a tricky challenge to do. Okay, so let's take this one, and we're going to swivel that a little bit, maybe like this, and we're going to move it to this side like that, and then we're going to do that here as well. So this takes a little bit of time, but it'll take less time doing this than in the real world. Okay, so let's just do that. I'm going to tilt this a little bit to the side, to the one side like that, and then this one as well, up like that. You can also use the R key. That also works. You're not limited to that over here. Okay. Again, we're not going to cut. Usually we cut our contacts. With veneers, I would probably say we're not going to cut, because we're going to cut the whole section of the margin away, and we don't want to do that. So I'm going to select one of these, and we're going to go shape contacts, and that will select this specific one only. And I'm going to hide the model here, upper segment, and I can then view it from the side. So if I wanted to add a bit of contact, I can brush it like this, and eventually it's going to come through this. It's a bit like a glass. You can see how it comes through there. But like I've said to you, usually we cut it, but in this case, I don't want to cut it. I'm just going to keep it very, very light. Actually here I'm going to go minus to get rid of that like that. So it's quite tricky. So I'm going to exit here. I'm going to select the next one, shape contact. Look at it on the side. Okay, here we don't have much contact. We can add a little bit. So again, there will be a bit of manual work. Here we've got a very, very big contact, which we're going to minimize that as much as we can, except for the margin. So we don't want to damage the margin. So I'm going to actually leave it something like that and exit. So we're going to we're going to work through the entire thing, and then we basically then finished it. So let's go shape contact here. Here again, we've got quite a bit. We're going to take away a little bit. When you got full crowns, we actually use this cutter. So we're actually cutting it here we're a little bit proud. We're going to take this away a little bit like that. Like that. We're going to move to the next one there. Okay, there's only the margin. There's a little bit too tight. I'm going to take this away a little bit as well. Just like that. So once we've moved through the whole section, then we can export here a little bit much. Take that away a little bit like that. Just to minimize our actual hands-on work. Yeah, there we don't have any contact. We can actually use a plus sign and we can just put a little bit of contact, and I'll just go -1 like that, exit. And then we're going to delete the contact cutters, bring up the model again so we can see our model. And that completes our veneers. Very, very cool.
So how would you export these now, Michael?
Of course, now you can smooth them down a little bit. You can do quite a lot of things. I mean, this tooth library is a little bit rough here. I can smooth it down a little bit like that.
Can you cut the veneer back to make space for layering if we wanted to?
Well, we can go into the cutbacks, select that, put it into the cutback collection. And then what we're going to do is we're going to select crown and paint. And then that brings up a painting tool. So here we don't actually have much space, Wolf.
Yeah.
But there is a protection. There's a protection so that the veneer doesn't get cut too thin. So I haven't done that with this type of veneer, but we can see if it works. I'm not 100% sure. Yep. So there it's cut it back, and then we're going to commit to that accept cut. Yeah. So here it's quite thin. It's probably 0.5 because they share the same space. And then if you wanted to, you can smooth that down as well. Smooth with protection means that the inside of it is not going to get hurt or damaged like that. And of course, if we want to bulge it out, we can do that as well. That's a cut back.
Can you make like creases in it, like mamelon effects? I mean, ideal would be making it with a crown. Veneers are so thin.
I think here is just too thin.
Too thin, yeah.
It would be too thin. We could bulge this out a bit.
Could you crease the other central, the 1-1?
Here, let's just bulge that out a little bit like that. Yeah, we can try. I think we use the coping one for that. I'm not sure. Copings. Yeah, the crease button. That's what you're talking about, isn't it?
Yeah.
But at the moment, we're not protected. I think
it's so thin.
could cut straight through it. Yeah. So let's leave it at that. I'll just go one step back. File open, and we're going to go back to the spacer and zone. Okay, so here I was saying that this is sort of the halfway mark. Okay, we wouldn't do this probably because it's super thin. I don't even know if you could mill such a thin structure. But if we wanted to go to the copings, the copings is a thin layer. So let's just go to the copings here, copings. We could, the green layer is the starting point to make copings. So here what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a coping layer. We can set the layer at a certain thickness. So at the moment it's 0.5 millimeters thick, so you can see. And then what we're going to do is we're going to accept this. And then with it being selected, we can generate the coping. And then that should then give us a 0.5 millimeter layer over the top of this. Let's just see if that actually does the trick. Yeah, so here we go. So here's our thin layer. I'll just hide everything else so we can actually have a look at this. So I'm going to smooth that with protection. Just give it a quick smoothing down like that. And then we're going to have a quick look and see the quality of this mesh, what it actually looks like. So exit. So here's an edit mode. We can see, okay, here we've just smoothed it, but here is the 0.1 and our pencil line. Let's expose the pencil line is over here. So we can see how precise it actually runs along the pencil line all the way nicely like that. See? So this one is like super thin. But you could do that with, you know, if you wanted to make a coping, for example. But on a veneer, you'd probably, maybe you could probably layer it if you wanted to. So it's a perfect layer. If I zoom in closely, we can see that little space here, which is our cement gap. That's the cement gap. And when you look closer to the actual margin, there's 0 here, so it's touching, and then that would be our support margin. Good, perfect. So I think that sort of concludes it. Are there any questions?